Dozens of people are searching for a missing hiker in the gorge.
21-year-old Riley Zickel set out on an overnight hike by himself.
Colorado County Sheriff's Office is searching for a missing hiker on the Olympic Peninsula.
John and Trevor Higgins, the father and son, were last seen Friday. They disappeared while hunting near Bear Camp Road above Agnes.
21-year-old Riley Zickel, the senior at Lewis and Clark College, disappeared.
An emotional plea from friends of a woman who is missing right now in the Skamania County wilderness. She's 19 years old, Maureen Kelly.
Searchers are looking for a 76-year-old farmer who did not come back from mushroom hunting near Grangeville.
Welcome to the Pacific Northwest Missing Persons Project. I'm your host, Tanner Hoskins, Executive Director here at PNW MPP and co-founder of Pacific Northwest Bigfoot Search. I do have one quick announcement before we jump into this week's episode. I'm excited to share that I'm writing a book about our team's investigations both into Sasquatch and into missing persons cases. This book is titled The Silent Forest: Disappearances in the Land of Legends. This book will be released on April 4th of 2025. It will be available on Amazon Kindle, as well as in paperback, hard copy, and audiobook formats. Now, this is my first book, but it won't be my last. Pre-orders will open soon, and I'll keep you posted. Half of the proceeds will go directly to supporting our nonprofit, PNW MPP, helping to fund our search and recovery operations. I'm very excited, and I hope all of you are as well. Now, let's dive into this week's podcast. Our team has spent the past 4 years primarily in the Cascade Mountains of Oregon and Washington. During that time, we've hiked hundreds of miles, driven thousands more, and camped in some of the most breathtaking wilderness you can imagine. However, we've only logged a few hundred hours in the steep and rugged terrain of the Tillamook State Forest in Northwest Oregon, despite the fact that this forest sits just 15 minutes away from where we are headquartered. Now, this forest is my old stomping grounds. Sasquatch sightings in this area have occurred for over a millennium, but modern-day sightings and incidents have significantly declined since about the mid-2000s. That is, until 2020, when a pair of bow hunters sent in a report after spotting my expedition Jeep on the highway. Their story quickly got my attention. These two bow hunters stated that they were tracking elk near an area known as Giveout Mountain, south of Highway 26 and west of the small town of Timber, Oregon. Oddly, they couldn't find a single elk in an area that had been bustling with them just a few days earlier. Having personally spent time here, I can vouch for the abundance of Roosevelt elk herds, often numbering 40 or more cows in a single herd. As the two bow hunters climbed the mountain, about an hour before sunset, they heard a high-pitched vocalization that dropped in octaves toward the end. Both men felt a rumble in their bodies, a sensation that often is associated with infrasound. For those of you unfamiliar, infrasound refers to frequencies too low for human ears to detect, but we can still physically feel. It's a method of communication that's used by mammals like elephants, whales, and tigers, but not by any known North American wildlife. The hunters froze, standing silent in the dense vegetation. Visibility in this area is often less than 50 yards, and yet they saw and heard nothing moving. They also realized that the forest had gone completely silent. No birds, no animals. The hunters said that they traversed the hillside back to their vehicle, mostly walking backwards, trying to get an eye on whatever had been behind them deeper in the valley. A few weeks after they returned home, they found the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, or BFRO, website and heard similar sounds that they thought the vocalization sounded like, resembling those of the Ohio howls, but stated that it was with a deeper bass note. A week after receiving the report, my brother Trevor and I ventured into the same area. We followed the overgrown logging road the hunters had described and found a track crossing the road. It was leading from one valley to another. We documented it, set up trail cameras before heading back to the Jeep. All common things that we do anytime we locate something of interest. About 100 yards from where we'd set up the cameras, we heard the distinct warning bark of a black bear. This sound, often made by a protective mother bear, was accompanied by rustling vegetation just out of our eyesight. Trevor and I cautiously walked backward, bear spray in my hand, Trevor's rifle at the ready in his. The bear seemed to shadow us for about 300 yards before retreating as we reached the Jeep. Though relieved, we could not help but laugh about just how close we'd come to having a heart-stopping encounter. When I shared this information with the bow hunters, they were adamant that what they had heard was not a bear. They were experienced bear hunters as well, and stated that they definitely knew the difference. As I continued to investigate the bow hunters' report, I delved a little bit deeper into reports from the area, utilizing the BFRO's website. I did find one that went back just to 2014, but I was looking for a little bit more recent. As our reputation grew over the months and years, we began hearing dozens of new accounts from the Tillamook State Forest. Witnesses included forestry workers, logging crews, law enforcement, hunters, fishermen, all describing strange activity, large footprints, and sightings of bipedal, hair-covered creatures. One particularly striking report came from an outdoorsman located near the Salmonberry River, also just west of Giveout Mountain. While staying in a fifth-wheel trailer for work, he experienced something violently shaking his trailer. He stated that it was like a mob trying to overturn a car during a riot. He grabbed his shotgun and ran outside, ready to confront whoever was messing with him. But he was met by nothing. No sounds of retreat, no crashing through the brush, no one in eyesight, just an eerie silence. Unable to sleep, he said he packed up at sunrise and chose to commute for the rest of the week, shaken but determined to finish his job. He said each day round trip was 80 miles, but he was not willing to stay in the forest alone. Both of these reports are extremely credible. I have zero reason to doubt the two people who came forward. Knowing their background and occupation, there is no reason for me to doubt their credibility. There's other reports from this area, but not close to where we plan to be at. In fact, the entire Oregon Coast Range is littered with cases that you can review for yourself at bigfootmap.com, home of the Bigfoot Mapping Project. Go there for the most up-to-date information. Now, the Tillamook State Forest, with its dense canopy, rugged canyons, and mist-shrouded valleys, it holds a fair share of mysteries. Missing person cases like Jeremy Childress, Lester Barger, Karen Harmon, who all vanished within or near its boundaries. These cases weigh heavily on my mind. Every time I enter the forest, I keep an eye out for anything that might have belonged to either of those three. To make things challenging, and even more mysterious, human remains have been discovered here multiple times, with law enforcement stating the remains were too old and could not be identified, only adding to the forest's dark reputation. This year, I'll be leading several expeditions into this incredible and challenging landscape. Our goal is to uncover answers, not just about Sasquatch, but also for the families of those who have disappeared. Please stay tuned for updates on these explorations of the Tillamook State Forest. You can follow along on our social media and our YouTube channel, where we'll share footage and findings. And just a friendly reminder, the Tillamook will also be appearing in our self-funded documentary set to premiere in November. Thank you for joining me on this week's episode. Please continue to share this podcast with your friends and family. Rate it, like it. If you're on our YouTube, please subscribe to us. And as always, please get to know the missing person cases in the area that you plan to recreate in. You never know when you're going to stumble across something that brings answers or closure to a grieving family. Thank you.